Hello and welcome everyone to this new video in our series about generative AI. In this video, I will show you how we can install Ollama, which will allow us to download and run open source LLMs such as Llama. We will also go to the website of the Ollama and I will show you how we can find LLM models which suit us. So for example, if we are looking for a model, for a small model, a large model for question answering and so on. Then we will go through the command line tool for the Ollama and we will see how we list available models, how we can pull a new model, how we can run, and how we can use Ollama to serve other applications by running a local server which can be accessed over HTTP using REST API. And I will show some examples of this API and how we can also change the default port of the Ollama. Then we will start doing some coding. So we will be using Python in Microsoft VS Code, and we will be running some of the Ollama command from inside Python. And then we will be streaming response from Python. And I will show you how we can write a custom client also using the Python API. So at the end, you will be learning how to use open source models through Ollama and using it in your Python application. In my series about front-end development, I went through these materials, however, using JavaScript, and I showed how you can use these open source models using JavaScript in 3 ways. So one way was using Node, so running on the backend on the server, and 2 ways running in the browser. In the next video, I will try to summarize these methods, and then I will show you how you can run a server in Python which will serve such JavaScripts, and then you can call it from a web browser and it will serve you these pages. So we will test that. Let's go to the installation and download of Ollama. So we go to ollama.com and we click on this download link here. You can see now it detected that I have Windows. If you have Linux or Mac OS, you will use the corresponding link. And now we can click this download here. It started downloading. So I will fast forward. Now download is done. We click on it. So you can see now we have version 0.5.6. And we can click install. This will install the Ollama and the installer will close automatically when it's finished installing. So let me open a command line or a PowerShell, and now we can use Ollama. So let's say Ollama version, and you can see this is the version which we installed, and then we have the help, and these are the main commands of the Ollama. So let's try Ollama list. You can see I already have 2 models. So I have the Llama 2 and I have the Llama 3 with 70 billion parameters. So let's remove the Llama 2 since we have now Llama 3 and 3.3. So we don't need it anymore. And for that, we run Ollama RM, and then we need the model name. And let's list now. So now we only have the Llama 3 with 70 billion parameters, and you can see this is like almost 40 gigabyte. Let's go back to the website and let's go to the models, and here we can see the available models, and you can choose the one which suits you. So for example, here you have the Llama 3.3, which is also a 70 billion parameter, and we have the 5.4, which is a 40 billion parameters. This is from Microsoft. You can see we have the Llama 3.2 Vision and many more. So let's try now to pull 2 models. I would like to pull the Llama 3.1 and 3.2. So I clicked on them. So I opened them now in new tabs. So you can see now the Llama 3.1. We can choose which model we need. So we have one with 8 billion, one with 70, and then 405. And these are the sizes. So starting from almost 5 gigabytes till 243. So let's go with the small one. And now here you can see also the quantization. So this is like 4-bit quantization. And you can see also the license. And then you have the README here. You can read a little bit more about the model. So as you know, the Llama models are coming from Meta. And yeah, again, you can read here about the available sizes. And you have here also some new features like long form text summarization and multilingual conversation agents and so on. And then you have the evaluation of the models here. And you see it's compared also to ChatGPT and to Claude. These comparisons are for the model with 405 billion parameters. Yeah, here we have the 8 billion parameter. And then here we see also for the 405 billion parameters with the human evaluation. And you can see here it's versus GPT. And it shows you the wins, tie and loses, so it's really close to the ChatGPT. However, we will not be using this 405 billion parameters, but rather this 8 billion parameter model. So here it shows us the command. We can use Ollama run and then Llama 3.1 8 billion. So let's go to the command line. So if we use the run, then Ollama will run the model if it's already downloaded. If not, it will pull the model and then run it. So for now, I will use the pull command and then the name of the model. and let Ollama first pull this model. Yeah, it's almost 5 gigabytes, so I will fast forward. So it's finished pulling Llama 3.1. However, it did not run it because we used the command pull. Let us now use the command run, and I will be running the Ollama 3.2 with 1 billion parameters. I'll start. It will also take some time, so I will fast forward. So you can see now when it's finished pulling the model, it's already run it. So the model is already started here and it's waiting for our input. So let's ask for help. You can see now some commands when we are chatting, like such as setting some session variables or showing the model information, loading and clearing and so on. And when we finish, we can type / and by. So let's start talking to this model. So I want to ask it how we can run Llama locally. So as you can see, it's can be fun and rewarding experience, which is nice. So first we need to check the regulations. It's advising us to check the regulations of the government. Yeah. And then we need to find a house for our llama. So it's really talking about a llama and not about the large language model. So we need to be more specific, and that's actually an important thing when we are prompting LLMs, especially for this small model. We need to be more specific, and we will see later when we are using prompt engineering that the more is the better actually. So I will write here large language model, and I will say on our own laptop. So let's check the answer. So it's saying that we need a decent processor, which is okay, I would say. Now talking really about the Llama model, and also we need connection to download the required software. And it's going on about TensorFlow and PyTorch here, and then creating Google Colab notebook and so on. And so let's ask it about large language models. So tell me something interesting about large language models, and let's see. So telling us that some of the interesting at these is their ability to generate text that's like human written. So here's an example, and now it's talking about Bert and Roberta and so on. So it's really working. Let's see if it can answer some math questions. So summarize the Pythagorean theorem for me. So it's got it right. So it's talking about right angle triangle, and it's telling us that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. And here it's in symbols. And then, yeah, the famous example, if we have the sides 2, 3, and 4, then the results for the hypotenuse is square root of 25, which is 5. Looks nice. Let's just close it. And let's see how we can access it now using Web API. So here on the Llama website, if we went to GitHub, you can see the repository of the Ollama. So they have Python library and an Ollama JS. In this tutorial, we will be using the Ollama Python. So let me open this. So we have some of the information here, but I want to check the REST API. So we have many examples here, which we will be testing now in vscode. However, I want to search for the REST API. It's telling us that the Python library is designed around the Ollama REST API. And don't worry if you don't know what's REST API, we'll be showing that quickly, and then we will be going to using Python. So you can see here we have a list of all endpoints, starting from completion, chat, creating a model, and all the commands which we saw in the command line interface. We can run them also using this API. And I'm interested mostly in the chat. So in the chat, it tells you that we need to use the method post and API create, and show us also the different parameters. And of course, an example here, which I want to copy and try. So let's open PowerShell again, and let me clear. Let's paste this. So we'll be using the command curl. So in Windows, this command curl is an alias to invoke web request. If I kept it like this, it will be calling this invoke web request. So to avoid that, I want to add .exe here. It seems that I copied a create. So let me go back and search for the chat, and let me paste it again. So let's use curl.exe, and then we have the Llama 3.2 with 1 billion parameter. This is our model, and I need to add this backward slash before each one of these quotations. You can see that we have messages, and we are sending one message. The role of this message is the user. So this is our role, and the content of our message, which is our question now, why is the sky blue? And let me click enter. And you can see we got our response back, which is a list of JSON objects. And in the return, we can see that we have a message, and we have the role assistant. So that's the Llama 3.2 answering us, and the content you can see here, it's like For each token, we are getting this Python object. To do that by hand, we need to collect them. So if we started reading the content, we have then primary reason for blue color, we see, and so on. So we will not be doing that ourselves. Rather, we will be using the Python library to do that for us. But for now, let me go back to the command. And as you can see here, we have the URL which we are calling, which is on our local host, and we have the port number, which I will show you how to change it in a minute. What I want to show you now is the use of the GPU when we run this command. So here I have opened now the task manager, and I'm selecting now the NVIDIA GPU which I have. And when I click on this, notice now the use of the GPU. You can see how it's raised. So we had the spike when the model was running and answering our question. Now I can turn the internet connection off. So you can see now, if I try to refresh this page, so I cannot access the internet. However, still I can run this model. So let me run the same command again, and notice that, yeah, we already have this spike again, and we got our response back. So this is very nice. We are running everything locally, and of course we can run a bigger model and we can get more accurate answers. So let's clear. So when Ollama start to serve, it would look to the environment variable called host. So we can list environment variable using dir env and then semicolon, but now I can press enter, but this will show us all the environment variables which we have, which can be a lot. Then if we are looking for a certain variable, we can put the name of this variable. So what we are looking at is Ollama underscore host, and let me press enter. You can see this path is not defined. Ollama then will fall back to the default host and port, which we already used minutes ago. So for now, let me give a value to this host, and to do that we use the $sign and then the name of the variable, so env semicolon Ollama host in the assignment operator, and I will use these quotations, and then we will put the local host, so 127.0.0.1, and let's give it a different port, so maybe 11,440, and let me click. So now let's check this environment variable again, and you can see the value which we already provided. And let's run the Llama model. I will again run this 3.2 with 1 billion parameter. So now our Ollama is running. It will also start a service in the background. So let me close this from here. And now let's check the command, curl command. Now, as you can see, it's failed to connect to this port, which is the default port. Let me now change it to the new port which we used, and that's with 11,440, and click enter, and you can see now we got our response back. So we're already now running Ollama with a different port. So let's now see how we can call Ollama from vscode. So I already opened the folder here called video 3 in vscode, and let's add a new Python file. I will call it Ollama 1, and then the first thing I want to do here is to have a new terminal, and I will create a new virtual environment. Then I will install the Ollama. So this is the command we've seen also on the website. So I forgot to turn my internet on before running this command. Let me do that, and let's rerun it again. So now it's working. I will copy the code from the Ollama website and put it here. So for this tutorial, I assume that you already have some knowledge in Python. So as you can see here, I'm already importing the Ollama, and then in the Ollama package, we have a function chat, which will take the model name. So we have 3.2 1p, and then we have one message here with the role user and tell me something interesting about LLMs, and then we print the response. As you've seen in the command line, in the response we will have the message, and from the message we are taking the content. So let's run this code, and of course it will not work because we already changed the port, and here in the code we did not tell what's the new port. So this client is now assuming the default port, and it will not be able to connect. So as you can see here, no connection could be made because the target machine refused it. So for now, let me comment this code, and I will start first now by defining a new client. As you can see, I'm importing client from Ollama, and then in the client I will have only one argument, which is the host, and I will put here the new port, and then we can reuse the code from above, but instead of using Ollama.chat, we will use client.chat, and everything stays the same here. So we'll need the same model, and we will be passing the same message. And let me rerun this now, and we have to wait a little bit, and then we got our response here. So one interesting fact about LLMs is that they are capable of learning and adapting to new concepts and so on. And we can ask it why the sky is blue, and let's run. and also we have to wait a little bit, as you can see. So we got our answer. Now I will go back to the command line and let me clear, and let's switch back to the default port, and that would be 434 here, and let's rerun the model. And now if we try to rerun this code again, we will get the connection error. So let me now comment this code here, or actually let me put it in a new file. And let's uncomment this code. So this is the code which uses the default port, and let's run. And you can see we got our answer back here. So now we are running on the default port, and let's open the web page which contains the help for the API. And you can see that we have the chat which we already tried. Now we can also use the generate. Let's now test some of the commands which we tried in the command line. I would like to test list, and you have like the copy, delete, pull, and others. So let's put it in a new file. So we simply import Ollama, and we use ollama.list, and let's simply print the response. And you can see that the response contains a property called model. So let's only print the models, and it looks like a list. So we can make sure of that by using the type. Now I'm printing the type of the models, and it's a list. So I can simply iterate over it. So using this for loop for mn list.models, I will now print only. For each model, we have a model which contains the name, the modify date, and we have the size and many other things. So let's print first the model and then the size. So I will convert it to string, and I will divide by 10 to the power 9. So we will get it in gigabytes, and let me run. So you can see now we have the models, llama 3.2, 1 billion parameter, and we did not put any separate for the size. Yeah, my fault. Let us add a string here, some spaces, and let me rerun. So this is the first model with 1 billion parameter. It's 1.3 something gigabyte, and this model with almost 5 gigabytes, and so on. You can also explore the other commands similarly. And let's go back to the chat. And you've seen that when we click on run, we have to wait a few seconds till we get the response. And that's because we are not using streaming. So to use stream, we can add here another parameter inside the chat, which is called stream. So as you can see here, already vscode is suggesting to us stream equal, and we will put it to true. So now we will be getting a stream from the chat. So we need to iterate and display the chunks of the stream. So let's do that. So we need for, let's say, chunk in response, and then we print the same. So the chunk, message, and then content. So we want this to appear line by line. So we need to add the end for the print command, and we will put it so it doesn't add a new line at the end. So you can see here the default is to add a new line, and we want to avoid this behavior. And now let's run, and you will see we did not have to wait, and the response start appearing directly. That's all what I wanted to show for this video. I hope you liked it, and in the next video I will show you how we can do the same things using JavaScript. So subscribe so you don't miss this new video, and I hope to see you then. Bye.